Hello, and welcome to this HelloID provisioning product release video for December 2020. HelloID provisioning is a 100% born in the cloud, easy to configure and to maintain user provisioning solution. It helps organizations to fully automate the user lifecycle management in the network by connecting the HR or the SIS as a source system. Every change in this source is detected and processed into the network. No worries anymore about stale user accounts, accumulation of licenses or access rights, manual user management, or compliancy issues. Please note that in this video, we will only show the new functionalities for the December 2020 release. Please go to docs.helloid.com or our YouTube channel for more videos. Let's get started. In this video, we'd like to start with a PowerPoint presentation and then demo the new functionalities for the December 2020 release. We have two new items in this release. First, export reports. We've added support to export reports. Exporting reports can be very useful when data validation is required. This feature allows us to export the data from one of the reports so it can be used for validation purposes. At the moment, this functionality is supported in the following reports: correlation report, audit logging, person overview, and the entitlement screen. Next, filter contract data based on the conditions of a business rule. As a preparation for the dynamic permission feature coming in the near future, we've already added this functionality. With this new feature, we introduced the ability to filter contracts by the condition of a business rule. This way, you can specifically define which contracts are in scope of the business rule by setting them to true or false. This applies to all of the business rules with a particular entitlement that it's configured for. We'll show you how this works in detail during the demo. The first item we'd like to show you is how to use the new export report functionality. The first report which can be exported is the person overview, which can be triggered by the newly introduced export button. By exporting this report, you will receive a list of all the person display names being shown in this overview. With this report, we've also added the possibility to indicate whether a person is included or excluded by defining a true or false value for it. We should mention that when you have a filter condition in place, this will affect the results of your report as it's being exported. The second report, which will have this new ability, is the audit log. From this report, you can export all the data that's visible inside the audit screen. This report will include a timestamp on when the event has occurred, the name of the system for which the action was executed, the action itself, if it was a create account or a grant permission, the status, if it was completed successfully or if there was an error, and the message related to the event. The audit logs report is also available for target systems, such as Active Directory, and can be exported as well. Compared to the person audit logs, this report will contain all the audit information about the particular system instead of the data for only one person. Also in this report, the filter conditions which can be applied affect the results of the report as it's being exported. The third report having this new functionality is the correlation overview. This can be very useful when you're in the phase of an implementation and you need to convince the customer which accounts should be correlated inside the correlated persons with accounts, or which persons don't have an account yet and maybe need to be granted one when you enforce the business rules. This one is visible in here. We also have the uncorrelated accounts, which can be very helpful when you need to clean up the Active Directory by manually removing the orphan accounts. The last report we'd like to show you is the entitlements report, from which you can export the total set of entitlements that have been granted or revoked since HelloID is in production. In this report, the export will retrieve a person display name, the name of the system, the type of entitlement, the last change date, and also the status of the entitlement when it's granted or has failed. Now let's move over to our second item: filter contract data based on conditions of a business rule. For this example, we have created a business rule named Filtered Contracts. As you can see, the scope of this contracts rule is set to meet all of the contracts having their type being internal. Now, let's have a look at the target system permission script, where we can use this data. You can see that we now have this as a variable by having set the contract context in condition to the value of true or false. This can be very useful for only granting specific permissions related to a specific contract. Combined with the upcoming feature for the dynamic permissions, which will be available in the near future, this feature can be very helpful. For example, when we create a for each, as shown in this example, over all of the contracts of a person that's granted a department share, and when the contract is included in the scope of a business rule, or the entitlement for the department share is part of, we can filter the contract for a specific set of departments and only grant the department shares for Department A and B, even in the case that the person has multiple active contracts for Departments A, B, and C, where Department C isn't a part of the business rule set by the type of internal. This is not only related to departments, but can be used in multiple situations and make this very flexible for granting the permission. Please note that in the preview window, the value of the in condition is always set to false. This is because the value is only calculated during the enforcement of the business rules. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Please let us know if you have any additional questions. You can post your question in YouTube or send it to isupport@toolsforever.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to receive frequent updates about improvements and changes in HelloID. Have a wonderful day.